Hi everyone, now I'm going to be tying quite an unusual dry fly. Now I'm going to put a photograph up of a cover, the front cover of a book by Gary LaFontaine. The gentleman was he was a very famous fly tyer wrangler in America, and he tied lots of caddis patterns, a lot of caddis flies. And in this book, in the front cover, you'll see an unusual, this is a dry fly, and it's called the Mohawk. Now, I've probably been asked to tie this fly countless times over the years, and on YouTube, and I never ever get round to it. And again, there's obviously must be one or two talking about Gary's flies, and again I get asked if I could tie the Mohawk. Now, I hope I do it justice, to be honest with you. Now, I'm going to be tying it as close to it as what I think is what it should be, other than what I'm going to be doing is putting a soft hackle in front instead of as a cock hackle used in the original fly. It was a white cock hackle. I'm going to use some soft CDC because it's not to float the fly, it's to give the impression of the legs. So, and what more than legs and nice soft long fibre that's needed for the fly. And this is a small CDC, natural CDC feather. It's quite light in colour, so I'm going to be using that. Now I'm going to basically tie the fly using white thread. Now I'm going to use a dark brown, chocolate, brown coloured deer hair, and then I'm going to basically do the front part using the white. This is just a white deer hair. This is a bleached one. It's pure white. You can buy that. Most of the big tackle shops that sell fly tie materials should have materials like that deer hair. And this one, I think I got that from Wopsy. It's a Wopsy product, but the shop sells it. Now the thread, as I say, I'm going to be using white. This is the Uni 80 in white. I've hooked. Again, it's up to yourself, but I'm going to be using the Fully Mill. It's the Ultimate Dries, obviously quite a light barbless hook, size 14. So I'm going to start at the eye of the hook, remove the waste here, make sure there's wax on my thread. Want a nice layer of thread down the shank, and good. I want plenty of grip, so hence I'm using the wax. Then I'm going to the brown. You can do different colours. I've got a couple of other colours there. But, you can use cinnamon, brown, olive, whatever, black. It's up to yourself. Now, not too much deer hair. I'm going to put 2 bunches of brown and 1 of white on the way up. So, got to remove this. See that fine underfur? I have to remove that. You can run it through a comb if you have one, to make sure it's all away. It spins far easier if you do that. What I'm going to do here is quite the simple way I tie this on is to come round with a couple of turns, and then I'm going to slowly pull, tighten up, and you'll see it flaring obviously. Now what I like to do is just wind through the cut ends, working my way up to that point. And this will obviously have spun at the back, it does spin with the thread turn. And there we are. And then we're going to do another bunch. Just make sure you get enough there, make sure again you wax your thread. And we'll go back in, trim away. Again, we're going to clean away all the underfur. Just draw back these fibres. So hold it, make sure you get enough at the front for your body. Couple of turns, slowly pull, and then allow the deer hair to spin. Always keeping the thread tight, and then work towards the eye, working your way through. Let's get to the front here, just make sure you've got 3 or 4 turns or more at the front. At this point, I like to brush the deer hair, because as it spins it obviously gets caught up in the bend of the hook, so you want this to be all the way around, especially when you come to cutting it. You want it to be where it's supposed to be. Now a wee bit of white. Now you could have a wee touch of white, or at least a thorax length of white if you want. Again, remove any underfoot. Again, wax your thread. Go over the top. Come round with a couple of turns. Nice and, well, sort of nice pressure, not too tight at first. But then as you come round, allow it to spin. And then tighten up. And then allow thread turns to come through the cut ends. Just going to make sure it's spun all the way around. You'll see how it catches. It's got in there, so what you do is just come in with your brush and brush it through. It saves your fingers. You could take it off the vise. Just going to tighten up a wee bit and make sure there's enough turns in front. Now you remember you've got a hackle in front to go on. And don't be shy with the head on the fly. So at this point, I'm just going to remove my white thread, just whip finish. You could half hitch or whip finish. I usually whip finish. Trim away my thread. Then what you want to do, you want a straight cut underneath as close to the shank as you can. So nice straight cut towards the bend. You can come slightly on the bend, around the bend, or on the sides a wee bit. Just draw back. You see how much of the... You want to be able to keep this open, the gape. You don't want to close, you don't want materials filling this, the gape of the hook, because you'll not hook up if you don't. Got to do that. You want it nice and tight. That's not too bad. And don't worry if you get the odd wee space. I do get the odd wee space as well, and it doesn't bother me. But anyway, we're going to give it the Mohawk, as they call it. So you lift your deer hair straight up. Now the length, it's up to yourself. I mean, it's meant to be basically a straight cut at the top, and then tapering off towards the back. Now I want to leave some of the deer hair, the taper, to come over just slightly by the bend here, so it's like it's just slightly longer. You could taper it down to the back of the hook. It's up to yourself, and I have tied it like that, especially if I want to do a beetle. If you want to do more cardless like, then I'd come a wee bit further. So we come up, so a straight cut at the top here, keep a hold of the ends towards the end and the back, and then taper it. That's all the way through there. I've just sharpened my scissors, so they're super sharp. And you see what it's like. So you can see, tapering towards the back. And basically, then you want to put a hackle in front. Now the original has a cock hackle in front, and a white cock hackle. But as I say, it's only a turn or two just to give the impression of the legs. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to use CDC, this natural CDC. It's a very soft. Now I'm looking for a feather with a thin stem. Some of the stems of these CDC feathers are quite stiff. So I'm using the small feathers. It's a nice tiny feather. It's got a nice thin stem. And these stems in CDC are strong. So don't worry about that. I mean, make sure they will tie in nice. Now before I do that, I'm actually going to change my thread. Now for an experiment, what I'm going to do, I've got it lying here. This is Brons Mallard. Because I'm representing more a caddis like, I'm trying to anyway, I'm going to put horns on it, just something different. Again, this is a fun of time, messing about with your own patterns. Now before I do that, I'm actually going to tie my thread on. I'm ahead of myself here. So this is a brown uni thread, an 8/0. a bit of wax on my thread, come up to the deer hair. There's my horns there. I want to be able to see them, so I'm a reasonable length. I mean, it's a great pattern. You can always have the original tying. So doing the top there. I'm just going to fold back the stems of the fibre here. Trim this away. You could put this on after the CDC, but I'm putting it on before. Just leave it there. Now I've got the feather. So just hold it. Just get the tip of the feather using the Hackle pliers. Run it back. Then I'm going to trim it. Lay enough, obviously, so I can tie it on. Make sure there's enough there. You want a nice base of thread, especially the wax thread. Your feather will sit much better if it's a nice thread, base of thread down. And then it's quite a light feather, this. When you look at the front cover, it looks very... The artist has gave the impression of more a CDC fibre rather than a cork fibre, but it looks good. So, using the CDC, see what that's like. I don't want to go too much. You can always remove the fibre. You could try it with it on. Just going to catch it in here. It's quite close to the eye, but I'm just going to see what it's like. I'm going to fold it back. Arama. No, just catch it in. Trim that away. Just draw back the CDC fibres, and then I'm just going to build up the head a wee bit, even if it means slightly coming on to about that last turn of the CDC feather. Get one fibre right at the front here. I can see it on the... I've got a TV in front of me which I use as a monitor. It's hard to see on here. Getting a wee bit of wax on my thread to give me the grip, and then build up the head, and then I'm going to whip finish. I say it's just let the fly, have fun, mess about with the pattern. It's one of these type of flies that I like. It will give the impression of a beetle as much as caddis. It's something. And if it's got a lot of movement, shape, that's the trigger point that you want in a fly. So anyway, there we are, folks. Something different, something a wee bit unusual. I'm going to put a wee bit of varnish on the head. It's a wee bit heavy, the varnish on there. Anyway, there we go. And that's this. It's a slight variant of the Gary LaFontaine Mohawk. As I say, it's a dry fly. A bit of fun. It can be tied in different sizes. You can make it bigger. If you listen or you watch the video, I'll put a link into the video below mine to his daughter actually tying it and speaking about it. And it's interesting to watch Gary as well as his daughter. There's one or two videos with him on the internet, and good fun to watch, and type of gentleman that inspired a lot of tyers. So I hope you enjoyed that, and again, thanks for watching.